Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Honest to Pod with me, Ashley McAllister.
And me, Matthew Ali.
And this is episode 39. Take it away, Matt.
Okay, so how are you, Ashley?
Oh, I thought you were going to sing for us.
No. Do you know, though, actually, my voice is getting a little bit better. I was making dinner the other day for the week in the kitchen, and I had myself a little singing session, and it went on for about an hour, and my housemates were home, and I didn't care. And it was very good, I will say. It was pretty much just like a whole back catalogue of Boys to Men.
Yeah, but did John and Ben think it was good? That's the thing.
Honestly, they did. They gave me a round of applause. No, no, they didn't. They didn't say anything. John was just like, "Oh, have a little singing session, are we?"
I can imagine you turn around, like all the neighbours are in your front room, and you're like, "Oh my god, I didn't know it was a whole show going on."
No, I closed the windows and stuff, so it was so hot in the kitchen, and the dryer was on, so I was sweating. I think that's why it was good, because like the air was really moist and hot, and I was sweating loads. But yeah, I think it just gave me some loose vocal cords ready to sing.
La 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 la.
I was just thinking about Sister Act 2 literally a moment ago. That's such a good film.
It's such a good film. Is it better than the first though?
I think so, but I've seen Sister Act.
Did we have this? Did we talk?
Yeah, we did have this conversation.
Did we talk about this in Dublin? Didn't we?
Yeah, and you were like, "No, number one is better," and I was like, "No, number two is better," because the music, like number one, is very churchy, very classical, whatever. But this is all like,
number one's not churchy. It's all like the divas.
What? How do we come to this?
Because you were singing and I went la 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 la.
Oh yeah, no. But my week's been good. Week's been pretty good actually. A little bit busy. You have to watch Love Island. Listen, Ashley McAllister.
Nah,
Ashley, I swear to God, it is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Never gonna happen.
Yesterday,
never gonna happen.
Yesterday, right? So there's this girl called Maura in it, right? And she's Irish, and she's a little bit of like she's almost like a cougar, a little bit of a bloodhound. She's very like, I want to say bodacious. Is that a word?
It's a word.
With like the word she says about like getting with guys, wanting to kiss them and stuff. And she had won a prize to go into like a room alone with one of the guys of her choosing. So she chooses this one guy, Tom, who she'd kissed earlier on in the day because he was quite forward. And he was there with the lads and stuff, the boys, the lads. And then he says to them, in earshot of her, she goes to collect him, let's see if she's more than just all talk. And then she was like, "What did you say?" First he said like, "Oh, what? Nothing, I didn't say anything." And then she was like, "No, what did you say?" And he was like, "I just said, let's see if you're more than all chat." And then she was just like, "What the fuck are you saying that for?" And all the boys are going crazy, jumping around being like, "He's fucked it up. And then so today there's going to be like the culmination of that, where he was just an absolute dick. When you said something wrong and you have, and there's just no backtracking. So good. So good. You need to watch it. I cannot express how good it is.
That might have been better if I knew anything that was happening there.
Oh, well.
I didn't.
I love it.
I was just like, I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's not for me. No, I don't really like reality TV. The thing is, I do like it, but as soon as I watch it, I get sucked in, and then I just know I have to watch every episode, and then it's such a waste of time.
Well, most TV is when you think about it, although it is a lot. I was thinking about this. I was watching a lot of TV recently, and I just finished something called Schitt's Creek, which is also outstanding. Have you seen that?
No, you told me to watch that in Dublin, though.
Oh, my goodness. It's so good. But you just think, like, really, like, you're just watching TV and just like to pass the time and stuff. And I'm not normally one for watching TV at this point in my life because I seem to be like busy or whatever. But I ended up staying in on Friday because I don't want to go out. And so I just watched like hours of TV and it was so good. But it is, I guess, essentially a waste of time.
You know what I watched the other night?
What have you watched?
I watched boxing and I watched mixed martial arts and UFC.
As if. Only because the guys are in like skimpy shorts.
No, I was round at my mates and they were watching it and we stayed up. Well, they stayed up later than me. I got tired about 1 o'clock, but they're like, "Oh, we're going to have to watch this big fight at 3." And I'm like, "I'm going to bed at 1, thanks." So I had no fucking clue what was going on. Everything had to be explained to me. I was like, "So why is he getting a break? Like, why are they? Why is he fighting for 5 minutes? 3 rounds at 5 minutes. I had no idea what was going on. And then this one bit, there's a guy from up the road from us in Strabane, and he was fighting. It was all over in London, and I was like, but this is really boring because they're both like just grappling on the floor, and I was like, this is the where's the kicks, where's the punches, and the two guys I was with, they're like, this is unreal, mate. Like, do you know what body strength it takes just to hold him down? I'm like, this is fucking shit. I signed up for a fight, not for fucking just two guys hugging each other really tightly on the floor.
Would you go and really go and watch a bunch of? I think like fighting, like UFC and boxing, I think are so like I just think this is not disgusting because these people obviously put a lot of time in, but like the idea of just fighting to win a competition is just like I think it's one of the most barbaric things you can do
Hmm.
and see, and it actually makes me feel.
I,
And I do watch it. I almost watch like UFC sometimes too, like squinted eyes, because I'm like, fuck, like they're obviously really talented and they're incredibly strong.
mm,
But imagine just jumping on someone and then just pummeling their face. Like it's just not in me to do that. I've dreamed about it, but the idea of it makes me feel like a
yeah.
bit uncomfortable. You know?
I see what you mean. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I don't know. There's something interesting about it. It's nothing I would ever want to do, but I definitely respect it as a art form.
An art form.
We were talking then about boxing. This guy had like his big swollen hands and stuff, and I was like, "Why is he? Was he not wearing gloves?" And my friend Diggs was like, "No, he was uh, bare knuckle fighting." I'm like, "What?" I said, "That's not a real thing. You're having me on bare knuckle fighting." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And then he told me to watch this documentary called Knuckles, which I watched last night, and it was phenomenal. It follows traveller families, and it's based in Ireland, and it's all about how they have their clans, which is just their surname, and they challenge other clans to fight. And I'm telling you, like this was filmed years ago. I think the last fight that was on this documentary was about 10 years ago, and they were putting in like £60,000 per family. So each family would chuck in £60,000. So the pot of money at the end is £120,000, and the winner takes that money. It comes back to the clan again. So like if you're the one fighting, your auntie might throw in £5,000, and your other cousin might throw in £5,000, but then they'd get 10,000 back, all based because they have just such faith in you fighting. But apparently, they don't even do it for the money; they just do it for the name. And I'm like, it was good. It was a good documentary.
That's crazy shit. Like just going there just for a fucking name. It's like that's animalistic,
Mm.
in my opinion. The name, honor. No.
Just you're fighting for your name, because what happens is they send like the record a message like, oh, you said this and you said this to me, and then they'll send a videotape back to the other family, and the family will watch it, and they'll be like, oh, they've just challenged me to fight. And it's like, well, you can't really back down, otherwise people will think you're scared, so they just fight. And I'm just like, it's all bare knuckle, and this guy's just like blood all over his face, and I'm like, oh, and then what's really crazy is,
This
so
is why. Hang on.
there's this bit where, well, basically what happened was, it follows this one guy who's an older brother, and at the start, basically the guy who made the documentary was asked to record his younger brother's wedding. So the younger brother was getting married. They needed somebody to film it. They asked this guy. Well, I can't really remember but he basically just then got asked to come back and film a fight. So he did it, and they sort of just got hooked up into this sort of family, and he just started filming it and decided we'll make a bit of a documentary out of it. At the end, so the younger brother then had to fight somebody, and he started biting the other guy, so he got disqualified because you're not allowed to bite. That's out against the
Mm.
rules. So he got disqualified, and then the very last fight, which was the one for £1,200, £120,000.
1,200.
It was the same two people fighting again, but this was like 9 years later. So the one that bit, and then right, this is not in the documentary, but I was like, at the end of this doc, I was like, that must still go on. And I thought I'll just have a wee Google and see what it is. The younger brother who got married at the very start of the documentary, who brought about the whole documentary, his wedding, he's now in prison because he beat up and killed his wife.
Oh my goodness.
And And I was sitting there last night, and this is about 1:30 in the morning, and I was like, I was really, not really upset, but I was like, but I like, that's Jacqueline. I seen her wedding tape. Because I was like,
Oh
I
my
felt like I was at her
goodness.
wedding because it's in the documentary, and you see her kids be born, and I was just like, oh, no, she's dead. I was just like, no, it was emotional. It was an emotional night. Then I didn't sleep very well after that, to be fair.
You wouldn't like it's because I guess you're following a
Mm,
documentary that follows their life and stuff. You see their growth, and then suddenly, actually, he's batshit crazy and just killed his family. Like, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up.
mad.
This is why fighting is ridiculous, and the gays are perfect because you've seen Pose, right?
I love Pose.
Right, and the way that they deal with their issues is even if they have their name and their honor and everything to deal with, how did they do it? They danced.
Dance.
They danced and they completed it in balls, and that's how they dealt with their differences instead of hitting each other because that's ridiculous. And I just believe that more things can be dealt with that way.
Well, speaking of that, don't forget what you said you'd do. Did you forget?
I'm going to hold a party.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ballroom party.
What?
Yeah, it'll be early September.
What?
I think I've got the weekend. I just need to plan it. Yeah.
Early September.
Yeah, why?
You said 6 months away when you told me, so it would be like,
Well, I told a bunch of people as well, like at rugby, and then they were like, 6 months are too long. You don't need that long to plan. And I was like, they were like, no, just do it in like 2 months or whatever. And I was like, well, fair enough. Because I'd like it to be in the summer. So that would make sense. Because there's the chance that we'll have it at our house, which we'd need like the garden and stuff open. So that's why. But yeah, imagine a ballroom party, 4 different categories. You build your own houses. And yeah, it should be amazing. But I do need to sort it out because it's going to take quite not loads of planning, but a little bit of planning at least. You wouldn't even compete anyway, though.
I wouldn't, to be fair. I'd
Yeah,
be too. I'd be like, yeah, yeah, no, I'm not.
yeah.
I'd like to
Do
go
come
though.
dressed
I'd
up
like to
though.
go and just get. I'll pick my favorite theme and come. I do like fancy dress, to be honest. I do like fancy dress.
Easy, yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying it needs to be out and
Yeah.
out drag. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be in drag, and I'll make a point of saying that. But at least some sort of costume based, something relatively flamboyant, or just something of the time would be really cute.
Number one rule: no effort, no entry.
I'm not going to start turning people away. Although some stragglers will probably try and come that I haven't invited. I bet you, innit? Like, try and get to the house and
Mm.
shit. And I'll be like, excuse me, do you have an invitation? Because it will have to be that way. Like, everyone's going to want to come to this party, innit? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'll turn away. I also don't think my house is big enough. So I need to see if there's another site, another venue they might be able to use.
Oh,
And then I don't have to clean as well.
well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, I have quite a bit to talk about, so let's jump right in.
Well, I wanted to talk about the whole Israel Folau thing because we've mentioned it before. And obviously, we're talking about his comments and things on social media. And then he was fired by his employer, the Rugby Association in Australia. And then I think we hadn't really spoken about it, although we have posted online most recently that he then started a GoFundMe page, which was then also taken down. And do you know how much he raised? Over $750,000, which you were right. You said a lot of people were going to give money. And I was like, I'll be surprised.
I told you.
But, yeah, you did. You did
I
say
said he would have got all 3 million. He would have easily got all 3 million because there's some Christians out there just batshit crazy and they have money. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean they are, and so it's so difficult because like it's not difficult in some ways because I don't normally get emotionally invested in some way or have feelings towards a lot of the issues because I do try my best to think, okay, well, let me think about their perspective and their viewpoint when it comes to even his situation. Like he has this strong belief system that like he has these beliefs that he feels he's being done unjustly, right? And it reminds me of like this happened at work with this girl who recently went through a big tribunal in the court and stuff, and it was actually denied. But she believed, and others have described it as crazy, like she believed in her cause, right? And he must believe so much in his cause that he was unfairly dismissed from his workplace. But it's just, I don't know, like I say I'm super happy that first, we'll go to the GoFundMe thing. That's ridiculous. Like the fact that he'd started a campaign to raise $3 million of people's money to go and help his legal fees, I thought was insane. because I don't know if he had any intention. He's going for like 10 million against his employee. If he has any intention of, I don't know, donating any, if he did somehow win money or get it, and people donated 3 million on this site, and there was no cap on it, and he also didn't need to use it for legal fees. There's nothing in it. In fact, they made a point of saying, he made a point of saying on the website that actually it may not be used for the intended purpose. Basically, if he was going to give some of that away, because at the moment, if you look at like the page, it's quite funny because you've got his legal fees, and then everything underneath it is about like these dying children, and then needs to have healthcare. And you just think they're really not the same, are they? They're really not equatable.
No.
Equitable? What's the word you say?
Comparable.
Comparable. That's a much better word. That makes sense. They're not comparable in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. These dying children and his legal fees for being fired for something that he actually broke the rules of. Like, you saw the tweet from. Have you seen these tweets from Drew Mitchell?
Yeah, I've seen Drew Mitchell's posts.
Yeah, I just thought it really cute. He was like, so the 765K that's been donated will be refunded to all of those that had given money. And then you've written, wouldn't it be amazing if everyone decided to redonate their pledges towards other people's pages who were in a fight of their life? And you think that'd be amazing, isn't it? The fact that he was able to raise so much money, and some of these,
that'd be awesome.
Obviously, it's their choice, and if they're like militant Christians and a belief system. Have you seen this thing about his wife?
Yeah, I told you about it yesterday.
Oh, good. What do you think about it? She had just written, sent a link, and then written support, and on her social media, and there was no. Do you think she should have been reprimanded from her employer?
See, this is tricky because I often say stuff out of instinct and my gut, which doesn't really make sense. But I would say she basically reshared it. First of all, they're married, okay? So what's his is what's hers. And they also have over £7 or £8 million worth of dollars in property. So they can just sell a house. Do you know what I mean? Sell one of their many houses and cover their own legal fees. They don't need to ask general public for it. She is, I'm assuming, a Christian as well, and probably has the same level of beliefs as him. So I would say that she would still agree with what he says, and she must do if she's sharing the post to raise money for the legal fees. I don't know if she should be reprimanded, if I'm honest. I don't know. I can understand why people are upset. Like, there's the other pro netball, because she's a netballer, and the other pro netballer said, this is not good enough. We don't support homophobia. And she's not done anything wrong. Like, she's not said anything herself, but it's clear that she has those views, and she's sharing this post to raise money to make a stance that what he's saying shouldn't be punishable. So it's clear that she has the views, but she's not said it. So it's like, you can't really punish something for something that they've not done.
Yeah, and she should be allowed her own views. He should be allowed his own views as well. It's more just about how you express them, I guess.
Well, no, this is the thing. He is allowed his own views, and this is because I seen somebody saying about how they think it's unfair that his campaign was taken down off the GoFundMe page.
Who said that?
Oh, I'd seen comments in one of the posts about it somewhere on social media.
Okay.
And they're basically saying this because they think it's because he should still be allowed his voice and his a chance to say what he is. And I'm like, no, he is still allowed to say whatever he wants to say, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to give him a platform to do it. So, for example, if the GoFundMe page, they're well entitled, because they're a company run by themselves. They're able to say, look, we can have whatever we want on our website as a GoFundMe. If we don't think we want to support the cause you want to raise money for, they don't have to.
It's
they
true.
don't have to give him a platform. That's not them saying don't have your beliefs. It's saying you have your beliefs, but you're not going to use our platform to do it because we don't agree with it. It's like people
They
seem
didn't even
to
say that,
seem
though,
to
did
think
they? They just said that it breaks their terms and conditions.
No, I know, but I'm just but they're what these comments I was reading today were saying that they think it's unfair that GoFundMe kicked them off. They're clearly just supporting the bigger cause or whatever it was. But people seem to be confused by what free speech. Free speech isn't entitlement to speak wherever you want. I think I've used the example before, but if you were to support one football team, if you were to support Man United, and you walked into a Man City supporters bar and shout whatever you want, you can probably you'll probably get punched in the face. That's not to say you can't you can't do it. Do what you want, but just deal with the consequences.
Mm. No, I agree. I definitely agree.
But anyway, I don't think she should be punished.
I don't. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think there's a clear line that says that she necessarily has homophobic views. I mean, she is supporting her husband, which is, I guess, somewhat admirable, and she might be a Christian anyway. You know, like you do need the united front, and I mean, obviously, I don't know the relationship, but you'd hope that you know who your husband was before you'd got together and would share somewhat similar views, you know? So it's not ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily believe that she should have been reprimanded. I don't believe that she's made a stance against like um, LGBTQ and everything like that. So no, I think that's fair. But did you hear that there's a Christian group that are going to start up another fundraising campaign?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they called the Australian Christian Lobby, and they so on the internet it says they're a prominent conservative Christian advocacy organization, and it's quite similar to the Christian right lobby groups in the United States. Um, in 2017, it conducted a high-profile, unsuccessful campaign to retain the legal definition of marriage as being between a man and a woman, and sought exempt debate on this topic from hate speech laws. So I think they're just very, very, very right wing. I read that. So the things that they support, um, well, I'd say what they oppose. So their group opposes abortion, euthanasia, surrogacy, same-sex marriage, and LGBTIQ parenting and adoption. Current halal certification arrangements they're against in their country. So halal, they're against halal certification.
They sound like a they sound like a fun group.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen if. It'll be interesting to follow this. It's a little bit for me. It kind of reminds me of like Love Island because obviously he's going through all of his life dramas now. Like this is literally the fight
Oh
for his
my
life, as he likes to put it. What?
How can this compare to Love Island?
Oh my goodness! You did not see it yesterday. Okay, like out of nowhere. Because like I didn't see this GoFundMe page happen, did you? And suddenly it showed up, and he's like, "Boom!" Then you think, "Oh my god, the money's raising, things are going well," and then boom, his legs are cut from underneath him, and then they take it down, and then he's going to go for another fight. And honestly, if you watched it, like things are going well, and then suddenly you're like, "Fuck, something else has changed." Or what Love Island like to do. The great thing about the show is, which is not the great thing about this situation, is things just come out of nowhere. And there's been quite a few events with this Israel Folau thing. Like, there's been quite a few things that happened. Do you know what I think?
I mean, it is dragging on a bit.
It is like something. It keeps coming up, keeps coming up, keeps coming up. And you know, it looks like he's not going to give up, which obviously is his right. But he's going to pummel himself into the ground at this point. So I don't know where he's going to get the support from. Like you'll get it from like a really niche, like far right group of Christians, and
Yeah,
fine. But I don't think it'll have like well, I have no idea at this point, but I'd be surprised if like their influence has a bigger scale on like what is already happening. Like the damage he's done to himself and reputation within like the society is bigger than the influence that he'll have with, you know, I don't know, some far right wing Christian group. You know,
yeah. It's sort of he's making a fool of himself a bit, isn't he?
he's so open about it. It's madness. Like he's doing everything as well in the public eye, you know, because he's saying his faith tells him so, and he needs to. I don't know. Like it's just like I don't know if he could have done some of these things. He like I don't know. He could have submitted his. Well, basically, he's going through this legal battle. I don't think he needed to do all of it in the public eye. Personally, like he didn't need to, but he felt the need to do it because we wouldn't have noticed any of this. It would have just shown up. I don't know, a couple of months down the line, saying, "Oh, an unsuccessful or successful appeal had happened." You know, but no, he's choosing to put himself like slap bang in the middle, right under the spotlight with this. And I just think you have to have a certain way of like thinking. You have to have like this mindset that you're just so right, so right.
It's because he wants every fucker to pay for him. That's why he wants this. He has to keep it
So
public.
bad, though.
And did you watch his video? Did you watch his video promoting it?
No, I didn't.
Oh my
I did
god!
not
I tell you this, he just sounds dumb. Like he just sounds dumb. And I was watching, and he's obviously saying stuff. Like he's saying stuff to pander to his like people to give him money, which obviously you would, but it just seems so fake. Like he's sitting there and he's trying to be sincere, and he just to me has a smug smile in the back of his head. He's saying, "Actually, I've got millions of pounds worth of houses. I'm being a pro rugby player, and I'm now begging for money because I can't be bothered, and I feel it's almost like he feels people should give him money because he needs to make an example. And I don't know if it's his calling to do that or he believes it's his calling. But man, just either pay your own legal fees or pipe the fuck down. Like, take a seat, Israel. Take a fucking seat.
I'm really interested to see what will happen, because I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. To the point where he might end up. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up using like his own money to transport it with just that almost, like sheer stubbornness, and like pigheadedness. Like
Yeah.
might even just like bring down his entire life, which I think at this point wouldn't be the worst. And it will show an example that actually it's not okay for those people that think it's okay to spread hate speech. Really.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, I just farted. Let's move on to what I want to talk about. Well, first of all, I want to talk about. Did you see? I posted about it yesterday. Did you see that bitch spit on that man
Oh god, yeah.
in the tube?
I think we had this conversation once before. I think about spitting on someone, like a long time ago. I think it was one of the worst things you could ever do. I think it's disgusting.
I would have punched her. I would have punched her clean in the throat. I asked people on social media to let me know what they would do. So I have a few people's responses, and a lot of them, I'm happy to say, are similar to mine in that they would punch her light outs. Somebody said they would report her to the police. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. You'd punch her. Somebody else was like, I'd laugh in their face. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. You'd punch her. Somebody said choke him. Probably too scared to do anything about it. Oh. It wrote back saying, give them a face full of pavement and then arrest them.
I don't think you could do that.
Wrote that.
Who? Oh, of course he would. He does specials, like he volunteers as a policeman.
Well, yeah.
He can arrest
then
someone,
He can
yes.
arrest somebody then. Yes, punch him in the throat, smack her, kick her in the cunt. Ooh.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't punch, but I would actually definitely grab her hair and throw her to the ground. That's something that I would do. I'd have a little bitch fight.
It looked like cheap weave.
I just saw a video with like this man getting a weave. There's a new like trend when men get weaves. That's not the point.
Somebody then wrote to me, I think I have it in DMs, but somebody wrote that they don't they don't think a woman should get punched.
Excuse me?
Well, this is it, right? They don't think a woman should get hit by a man. I don't believe in hitting women. And I'm like, right. My response to the chat, I don't know where it was, I can't find it now. But my response to the chat was, I don't believe in hitting anyone, but I would hit a woman if I had to hit a woman. I don't care. The message isn't that men shouldn't hit women. The message should be that women shouldn't get in the face of men. I'm not saying, like, this is obviously not a scenario for everything, but a woman just can't start a fight. It's my opinion. A woman just can't start a fight thinking that there's no consequence. If I'm in a situation where I am getting spat on or kicked or punched or nails digging in I am going to punch a bitch out. I'm sorry, but I will.
I think so. Because they think they can just come up to you, right? They think they can just come up to you sometimes because they won't and be like, you can't do shit to me. You can't do shit to me. But that's not actually true. It actually happened once when we were, I was out with my brother and this girl I don't know how we ended up getting into like, an argument with this girl. Maybe like, I think we might have accidentally pushed her or she might have done the same thing. And then she'd come around and she started getting really leery into like my brother's face.
Mm.
And then she's like, girl being like, you can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And you know what she does? She spat in his face.
Oh.
So he's really bad. Well, he spat in her face loads. He was hucking up loads, spitting loads. And then he grabbed our drinks and then threw it all over her.
No.
So good. She lost her shit. And then, we had to pull her away. And then the bouncers came and then pulled her away. They noticed that she was being a bitch. They pulled her away. And then we tried to say like, it was all her. And they saw it. They'd seen that it was her. So that was good. Just because he was a man and she was a woman, they didn't necessarily see that it was him. And she got chucked out and we stayed in. So that was really good. I thought that was actually okay. But he was spitting loads.
That was good. Oh, yeah. No, I would definitely have punched her. What about the people in the tube in that scenario? What do you think? Do you think they should have done something? I know there's somebody told her to shut the fuck up, but...
The video said she got dragged out of the tube by her hair on the way out.
Oh, did they? Because I didn't see that.
You don't see it in the video, but you see there's that woman near the door that she's arguing with.
Yeah.
So she spits and then she walks towards the exit. That woman dragged her out by her hair. Yeah.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah.
Go on. What a legend. What a wee legend. Well,
So good.
I hope she gets what's coming to her, that little tramp. What a fucking disgusting cunty tramp. Who spits on somebody? It's just not right. Okay, well, actually, what the main thing I want to talk about, which is a bit unusual, but essentially, I was down in the coffee shop yesterday, and I read an article. A man found dead in a porta potty. This is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Last Saturday, 7 a.m., they found a dead body in a porta potty. There's no foul play. He just died in the toilet, which I guess happens. People have heart attacks and stuff like that. But excuse the pun, but it's a pretty shitty way to go, right? Could you imagine? And the reason why I'm saying it is, a couple of weeks ago we went to Rugby and Union Cup, and we experienced Porta-Loos, and we talked about them on the podcast at that episode. And this just got me thinking about that, and I thought, to do something different in this episode, we'll talk about porta potties.
Okay.
So I did some research. So the porta potty, or the Porta-Loo, we call them here, porta potty in the States, chemical toilet. They're also called slop buckets, thunder boxes, honey wagons, all these different names. And doing some research into it, I found some really funny slogans for companies who hire out porta potties. Porta-Loos. I don't know why I'm saying porta potties. I'm not American, but my favorite was, we're number one in the number two business. How brilliant's that?
We're number one for number two business.
Yeah.
What are they called?
I didn't make a note of the company, but it's in the States. But did you know that, well, thinking back to a couple of weeks ago when we were in Dublin, we were in these Porta-Loos, and how many people would have been there? 2,000-3,000?
There's supposed to be 2,500 to 3,000 people, yeah. So there was a lot. Well, I mean, there were quite a few toilets, and I can't imagine a lot of them. But it was disgusting.
They were just, and you think all the beer. I'm trying to think what type of food was going down. We had crepes, we had sausages, nothing overly too spicy, but on top of mixing all that beer, and it wasn't a healthy smell.
No, and I looked down there, and there was lots of undigested food inside the poos. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there's because some of them have a flap that go backwards, and then it just sticks in the poop. This is a warning, everyone. We're going to talk about poop for a bit. Sticks in the poop, and then if you go in there, and I have to say, I hate porta toilets, and you caught me coming out, and I was so trying hard not to use it. My stomach was just ready to explode, and it was the most disgusting thing. I sort of just go in, hold my breath, close my eyes, and just aim and hope for the best.
You may as well, innit? Like, they are disgusting.
Yeah.
I will say though, out of Porta-Loos, as Porta-Loos go, these were not bad ones. I've seen far worse Porta-Loos, and I thought these were actually okay.
They were, but I also thought there wasn't enough hot water. There wasn't enough water. Do you know what I mean? There was not enough water. I don't think the taps work.
What do you mean the taps inside the Porta-Loos? To wash your hands? No one ever uses those.
Yeah.
They're just for aesthetic.
Yeah.
So if you thought they were working, that's your fault.
No, my expectation is to wash my hands after I go to the toilet.
You've got your high expectations are too high. That's why they had the hand gel on the outside. You're wrong. That's your fault. Those taps are for no reason at all. Just so you're clear.
Well, I ended up washing them with bottled water and then going back and getting the hand sanitizer. The porta toilet dates back to, when do you think the first porta toilet came out?
I think in the 60s. 80s. No. Sooner than that. Well, hold on, Portaloos. What? Because that's difficult. Because they would have been before that. They wouldn't have been those. There would have just been holes in the ground. So
No, 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 no. There's a difference between an outhouse and a
okay.
portaloo.
This riveting conversation has got me on edge.
Uh, a port, an outhouse is built over a hole in the ground and supposed to be built to be at least semi-permanent. A portaloo is a self-contained toilet.
When was the first self-contained toilet?
World War Two. So World War Two caused the need for more toilets because there's things like shipbuilding, more factories, more work. More workstations meant more workers, so more poop means more toilet. Um, but there's a funny one. So the very first portaloo, or one of the very first ones, is called the Elson. And basically it was built because in World War Two you had pilots and they were flying over long distances, and apparently one of the bigger problems, well, not apparently, what I read, was where do you go to the toilet? So in the cockpit up the front, the pilot and the co-pilot would have little hoses that they could pee into, and it would just go out the side of the plane and drop, um, which I thought was crazy. But out the back, they had a thing called an Elson, which was just basically a bucket. And this guy from the war documented his experience on the Elson, and I'll read out what it says here. It doesn't take much imagination to picture what it was like trying to combat fear and air sickness while struggling to remove enough gear in cramped quarters and at the same time trying to use the bloody Elson. This loathsome creation invariably overflowed on long trips and in turbulence was always prone to bathe the nether regions of the user. It was one of the true reminders to me that war was hell.
Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine? Apparently, what they used to do as well was fly over German and the Nazis and drop all the buckets out over the Nazis when they were flying by. But yeah, and then it got me thinking as well. How did they clean them?
Portaloos nowadays or back then?
Yeah, yeah. Back then, we're back up to modern day.
I have no. I feel like they just hose them down. Like there's like machines that must do it. No.
So they come in a big truck, and it's a big suction air compressed truck, and they put the big hose down the toilet and suck all the crap out.
Oh my goodness.
Then they come in with water and they flush it all out, and then they suck it all back out again, and then they actually disinfect the whole unit with spray, the whole insides and outsides. They cover it all with disinfectant spray. So in festivals, things like that, it should be getting done. If it's basically, it should be done daily, depending on how busy it is. Smaller things like maybe what we were doing, we had enough toilets where it probably didn't have to be done. We were only there for 2 days, it probably didn't have to be. But by day 2, it was disgusting. But I also just got a bit obsessed, but which I won't go into now. But I got obsessed about learning all the chemicals and stuff that they use, and how there's different fragrances for different portaloos. Now you can buy fragrances like bubblegum and cherry pop and stuff. You can have your portaloo fragranced if that's what you want. But mad. I just thought this is crazy.
That is so strange that you looked into the chemicals they use to clean portaloos. Really bizarre.
Well, no, it's basically no. It's because I was thinking. We talked about there when you went in and you looked down and you seen undigested food pieces in with all the
Yeah,
poop.
it's disgusting.
Apparently, there. Did you notice that it was blue?
Yes, very much. Because when you pull the pump, like yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The blue liquid is designed to. Well, there's these salt tablets that go in, and there's blue liquids that go in as well. And it's all. It's like as a geek, it was fascinating, but it's all designed in a way to make it less needed to be emptied. Like all that all those dyes and chemicals in there break down all the shit, but also break down the smell. So it's supposed to you know, it's supposed to make it a better smelling experience. And the blue is also to combat the color of brown.
because we've got
So
blue. We use blue little tablets in our toilet, but also I've got this natural habit of walking into toilets with my like not breathing out my nose. Like any toilet anywhere that I ever go, naturally, I'll just start breathing out my mouth because of the smell, which I think is a great tactic that I have.
Do you know what I hate about going into toilets?
What do you hate about going to toilets?
I hate when you go into a toilet and somebody else has left a mess, and you're only going in to piss, and you have to either clean up somebody else's mess out of the fear of somebody else walking in behind you and thinking you caused
Oh
this mess.
no, it's actually the worst. It's really embarrassing,
Isn't it? It is the worst. I just want to talk about shit there for a while. That's all I have to say.
I actually really love talking about poo normally, but normally I'm in like an island about myself because I do a lot of poos generally. In fact, I had to do one before the podcast, but I got hit by something. I don't know what it was. And on rugby days, I can do anywhere between 3 and 5 before I have to leave. So on a Saturday, yeah. So that was really difficult. You know, in Dublin, because you didn't want to go. I had to go before the first game. I went twice to the Porta-Loos, and I'd already gone twice at home before the very first game.
Oh,
So I've got to get over that fear really quickly because, yeah, rugby days you have to shit everywhere, and some places are fucking vile. So yeah, I mean, even at the rugby club the other day, we were there on Saturday. Someone had shit, but the toilet. Okay, so the toilet, there's like a little lip where like the flush comes from behind, like the water.
mm-hmm.
Someone had like somehow pooed all the way up to where like the toilet seat meets, like the end of the toilet, and I was like, how did you do that? How did you? Because it was a lot as well. Like it was right on the back where the flush will never reach.
Oh,
So someone had to go in there and scrub it, but they won't do it. So then it's been there, and it's a lot. And I just think, wow, you are very talented. I was like jealous.
mm. Your ass can do some good stuff.
Oh,
Oh, I also hate that people don't. You wouldn't want to walk into a shitty toilet. Why? Why would you leave it? Like people, I have this habit where I'll flush the toilet, wash my hands, and then always look back down the bowl to make sure it's clean.
I do that sometimes. I don't do it all the time,
But
but I'm glad I started doing it.
I do it every single time.
I've got this really bad habit of forgetting to flush the toilet in my house. Like the past 2 weeks, where
That's disgusting.
isn't that bad? It's fucking awful, and I don't know where it's come from. I must be distracted on my phone or something. But I've gone for a shit, washed my hands, left, gone back in there. Luckily, John, my housemate, hasn't gone in there, and I'm like, the poo's still there, and I'm like, fuck, and I'm certain almost sometimes that he has done, unless it's him. But I'm just like, is it me?
Oh,
I don't know who it is.
I think it's you more than John.
I think it was me. I think it was me. It's just I can't remember. And I do poo a lot.
Big question: Do you do you wipe front to back or back to front?
I don't understand the question.
When you're wiping your ass after you have a poo,
yeah.
Do you reach
back
behind you or right? So
I threw my legs. I sit down. I do it when I'm sitting down.
Yeah, I do that, but apparently that's the minority.
Apparently so. But I feel like my cheeks are really wide and open, so I can get as deep as possible to get a good thorough wipe and clean. I feel like my cheeks are fully open, and I've got big ass cheeks. So if I'm standing up, my bum's gonna close. I'm gonna have to open it with my hands. It's all a faff. Whereas I'm sitting down, I'm already in prime position. Just to feel around and get a good deep clean.
I just also think it's a bit more efficient.
You know what's really good, which my mum got, but I don't use them in my house. Yeah, definitely.
What's your mum have?
Absolutely. I think for those with big dicks, that it might be really hard because their big old willy be in the way, whereas I don't have to worry about that too much. That's the only
not
thing.
Something I have to worry
so maybe
about.
One of my friends complains about his willy hitting we say?
It's not something I have to worry about either.
Yeah, exactly. My friend was like, "Oh God, isn't it awful when your willy touches the toilet?" And I was like, "What? No. Not at all."
Which friend is this? I need to meet him.
I was like, "Oh my goodness, what?" Let me see. What my mum got, was wet or moist toilet tissues. They're like baby wipes, but they're not. They're tissues. They're thinner. They're like tissues that are wet. So if you want a really good clean, then you can do that. You just have to do a little dry afterwards because it might feel like you've got lube in your ass or something if you don't clean it away. But
and baby wipes are not flushable, but these wet toilet papers are flushable. So a word of warning out there, guys: don't block up your shitter drain because using flushing baby wipes.
Oh, I didn't realize.
There you go. It's true.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, I doubt anybody's listening still after all that. They probably all cut off. Like the one person that's still listening. Thanks for listening, guys. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, not at all. Not at all. I need to get to Love Island now.
I'll let you jump off. But thanks everyone for listening. Cool. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Well, have a lovely week, Ashley.
Yeah, you too.
We're gonna have a heat wave. Are you gonna have a heat wave?
Well, it was very sweaty here today. I'm just back from the gym before we jumped in here to record. But
oh my goodness, it has been absolutely moist here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna get 32 degrees on Wednesday, which I'm super happy about.
So good. I bet we don't get that. Anyway,
no.
Everyone,
and I'm away with work on Thursday in the owner's house, and we're gonna. Okay. All right then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.